Hey guys, I'm here with another coronavirus update. This is episode 6 of my coronavirus vlog. It's March 20th right now, almost 9 o'clock p.m. So it's dark outside. I'm going to do the episode today from inside my apartment. So, as always, new information is coming out every day. And I'm here to keep you updated on some of the things that's going on around the world. Sorry to finish writing this down for a second. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about the number of cases today. Right now, Saudi Arabia has 271 confirmed cases. That's up 36 from yesterday. And the rest of the world has over 262,000 total cases. And yesterday it had, I think, about 225,000 at midnight. So this is the biggest spike in cases per day, and I expect that it will continue every day. We'll be breaking new records for how fast this coronavirus is spreading, or how fast the tests are coming in for it. So let's talk about some new things. Starting tomorrow, in a few hours, Saturday, March 21st, I think at 6 a.m. in the morning, all domestic flights, buses, taxis, and trains are going to be suspended for 2 weeks minimum in the kingdom. That's huge. There are a fair amount of flights that are still flying, that people go from Dammam to Riyadh or to Jeddah or to Abha, where I am. I'm in Khamis, but close enough. Even to Bisha, Tabuk, Jazan, and other cities. So these flights are going to be canceled, I guess. Yesterday I talked about the health precautions that were going into effect in Abha International Airport, but I guess now they've just decided it's safer to close all domestic flights. I'm not sure how many other countries around the world have done that. Seems like Saudi Arabia is setting the trend when it comes to that. There aren't that many trains in the kingdom. I think there are 2. I could be wrong on that. But so that's not a huge deal, but it is still important. All buses are being canceled. That's big. So I can't take a bus to Jeddah or Jazan anymore. And lots of people who are traveling, I'm not sure why they'd be traveling around the kingdom very much right now, but if they are, unfortunately, buses are no longer an option. And buses are pretty cheap in the kingdom. And also taxis. I assume this means Kareem and other apps, Uber as well, I think. That's big. So basically, if you don't have a car yourself, then getting around is going to be quite difficult. So I think we're going to start seeing the general businesses and traffic and everything, transportation, commerce, really grind to a halt later in the next 2 weeks. There are exceptions for humanitarian flights, medevac flights, and private flights. So I guess I don't think there are that many people who own their own planes, but if you do, that is still allowed, I believe. And if there's some kind of national evacuation, if America or Canada decided that they were going to evacuate their citizens, I guess that's still on the table. So because you cannot leave the country anymore, Saudi Arabia has announced that they're putting in, I forget exactly how much, it's like $30 billion US. It was a lot of money into some new measures. One of which is that if you are here on an Iqama, that is a special kind of official work visa in the kingdom, lets you have a bank account, own a car, own property, that they are going to extend all Iqamas. If they are going to expire soon, they'll extend them 3 months until sometime in June or July. I forget exactly where. Those individuals who have been given work visas, who had been given work visas maybe a few weeks or months ago, but have not entered the kingdom yet, they will be refunded their visa fees, and in some cases postponing those visas because they have an entry by date, I believe. They're also postponing some taxes and customs duties on various goods. All right. I got an email from. Actually, I didn't. No, I did get an email. Yep. I thought maybe I read it somewhere else, but I did receive an email from the U.S. Embassy, the government. They have the embassy in Riyadh. Sent out an email that confirmed this travel alert as well. It was announced last night or this morning on Saudi Gazette, and the State Department confirmed that. So pretty much like everyone is going to be forced to shelter in place. The United Arab Emirates, the UAE, which borders Saudi Arabia, is allowing the GCC citizens, that's the Gulf countries, they are allowing them into the Emirates, not from Saudi Arabia since we can't leave, but if you are a citizen of Saudi elsewhere or a member of the GCC, you can go into the UAE if you can get a flight. However, you have to self-quarantine for 14 days if you do that. So I don't think many people will be taking them up on that offer. Just talk about oil prices, I guess, very quickly. Right now, oil is just under $25 a barrel. It's about 24.85, US dollars. And to give you some perspective on this, this price right now around 25 bucks is down 60% from the beginning of the year. And January 1st, it was around $60. Now we're around 25. So in the span of about 80 days, the price of oil has collapsed. Saudi Arabia is suspending entry and prayer in the outer courtyards of two mosques in Mecca and Medina. What else? And lastly, I want to say that people are there's perhaps news that some American claimed that on Sunday, this coming Sunday, on March 22nd, that the United States Embassy is going to release some kind of information to citizens about the future of travel in Saudi Arabia during the coronavirus pandemic, epidemic, whatever you want to call it. So we'll find out maybe in a couple days what's going on there. There are about 35,000 Americans here in Saudi Arabia, and I look forward very much to finding out what's going to happen with that. And I thought I would just take a few minutes at the end of this episode to read a couple of comments that I got on some of the previous vlogs I've done. So on episode 2, some guy said, try to buy dog food and do as a charity, put it until this crisis ends. My area still feeds stray cats, dogs, and birds. Hopefully people won't stop feeding the dogs. And this was in response to a comment I made in my episode where there are a fair amount of stray dogs. They travel in small packs, maybe 3 to 8 in size, just street dogs that people tend to leave food out for in order so that they won't starve to death. I do sort of have a worry that if people are sheltering in place for long enough and people aren't really walking the streets anymore, that these dogs are not going to be fed. And if someone is walking around town and 7 or 8 hungry street dogs encounter this person, that the dogs might attack or something. They're sort of like half domesticated, and the dogs are pretty cowardly actually. So I think that if it really came down to it, the individual could probably scare the dogs away. But I only know the dogs in Khamis Mushait and Abha. I don't really know what they're like in the rest of the kingdom, and just something to keep an eye on, the sort of downstream effects from this coronavirus. Let's see, another comment said, what are your future predictions for this current COVID-19 global pandemic in terms of number of cases in the coming months and the economic consequences? So there's a lot to unpack here. My future predictions in terms of cases, obviously the cases around the world will continue to skyrocket. I think that before April 15th, we will have over 1 million confirmed cases in the world. In Saudi Arabia today, anyway, they are slowing down, and because a lot of the restrictions and precautions and responses that the Saudi government has put into place, it's possible that the number continues to sink, or at least the increase per day goes lower. I think more or less we'll have good days and we'll have bad days. Eventually, people are saying, and experts are saying, not just a bunch of randos, experts are saying that by the end of the pandemic, more than half the world's population will suffer through this virus. And already in America, people are saying the best case scenario has more than 1 million people dying from COVID-19. So I think this is going to be a worldwide health crisis that lasts for at least 18 months. In the next few weeks, especially in America, we're going to see gigantic economic repercussions. We're going to see a recession like none other, or perhaps like the Great Depression. It's going to be worse than 2008, 2009, I believe. I believe Saudi Arabia will continue pumping incredible amounts of oil in order to supplement their economy during this time. And generally, the economic situation around the world is going to be very bad. And you should take that seriously and consider what you spend your money on and what you don't spend your money on, especially going forward, especially if you have debts. My contract is ending here and I'm not renewing it, so not sure exactly what I'll be doing in 5-6 months from now. The job market in America is going to be very bad. Projections say that unemployment is going to rise to higher levels than it was 11, 12 years ago. This is a global crisis. And then one other guy said, how scared are you to be so far from your home in a situation like this? Well, my home is in the United States, most of the time anyway. And right now, the coronavirus situation is worse in America, much worse than it is in Saudi Arabia. And America is still being kind of slow to respond to this. Even my home state of Massachusetts, I believe, has just about as many cases as Saudi Arabia, and it's a much smaller area of land with far fewer people. There are more than 30 million people in Saudi Arabia. In my home state, there are fewer than 7 million. So we're looking at a big disparity in infected cases, and America's healthcare system is a complete disaster, and we really ought to have some sort of universal government-provided single-payer healthcare by now. It's 2020, and now is not the time to have poor vision for the future of our country and the world. I mentioned in this my response that I'm probably on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like panicking, and 1 being, I guess, totally oblivious to the virus, thinking everything will be okay, it's going to go away in a week, I'm never going to get it, I'm never going to know anyone who gets it. I say that right now, on March 20th, that I'm at about a 7, which is where I expect to be for the next few weeks anyway, around 7, 6, 7, 8. My only real worry right now, in the next month or so, is that I might not be able to get home if the travel restrictions last for a very long time. Not really sure how long that's going to be, and I'll talk about that, my predictions for that, in another video. And also a little worried that my parents, who are right now in East Africa, that they might not be able to get back as well. And since my contract is ending in fewer than 2 months, this is something that I do really want to know. In America, I'd probably be at a 5 on the scale. The situation is worse, but there's just less uncertainty. Right now, there are so many variables going around and a lot of uncertainty and confusion, and our hospital healthcare situation is just much worse in America, in my opinion. If you can get healthcare, it's great if you can afford it, if you have good insurance. If you don't, and many Americans still don't and are quite poor, and they need to go to work, whatever work is still left, they need to go to work to keep making money so that they can survive. It's going to be very serious, I think. But at least in America, I would be more comfortable. I would have more of my things. And if I had to shelter in place for 3 months, I would have a lot more to do with my time. And people are saying the government, American government, is going to give out some kind of cash payments, checks to all citizens or some citizens. The government is still deliberating what that's going to look like, who's going to get it, how much money is it going to be, and some other things besides. So I think that's all I'm going to talk about for this episode. We're running at about 17 minutes, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. Tomorrow I will be back with another video. Today is the 3rd full day that I have spent in my hotel apartment complex. I expect that I'll probably go for a week. I have enough food and water to keep going, so I will be back tomorrow, inshallah. If you have any questions, if you have anything you want to say, please let me know in the comments below, and maybe I'll answer your question live, not live, but live to tape on a future episode. So thanks for watching, guys. Like and subscribe, all that stuff, yada yada yada. I'll see you guys later.